Yeah, it's almost become a game in our office of there's this motivation by everyone of like, how
Mhm.
can we automate so many things to become so much more efficient
Mhm.
within, the couple solutions that we have. And so it's kind of this fun thing of, well, hey, I found that we can do this and it'll save us time and then we can focus on the meaningful work, right?
Mhm.
It's not the emails, it's not the making a schedule. Like those things are important to a project, but what's really impactful is that relationship and at the
Yep.
end of the day, your strategic delivery.
Everyone, welcome to another episode of Larry's Pod. Today I'm here with Jeff Reed. He's the winner of the Entrepreneur of the Year for the second time in a row on the Innovation Iowa. And yeah, super happy to have you here. Welcome, Jeff. How are
Hey,
you?
welcome. Yeah, good. I'm glad to be on the podcast and pushing the limits of distance to make this happen between the US and Latin America.
Sweet, yeah, that's right. So yeah, you are the founder of Momentum Studios. So I wanted to ask you a few questions. Like we know these days everything is going like crazy with everything that's going on with the technology and the emerging trends, and especially in the technology and the design and marketing fields. So what have been the biggest challenges and changes that you've been seeing and experimenting firsthand?
Uh, no, great question. I think there's a couple that I've seen. One obviously is the overuse, or I think we're all maybe have fatigue of the term AI.
Mhm.
So I think seeing companies leveraging AI and actually, especially the larger ones, how do they integrate it into their business model, to their team members, and be safe about it? And what's great is it's really pushed them to understand what is true AI, what is generative AI, what is machine learning. Um, so I think we've seen a lot of work or a lot of intrigue around
Mhm.
how do they incorporate things. And we've talked a lot about, as everyone says, AI is not going to replace people. It,
Mhm.
it will in certain things to automate, but how do we leverage it to reduce tasks or manual things inside of organizations that don't require critical thinking, and then up our game on things such as building better
Mhm.
problem solvers or creators within an organization because they
Mhm.
now have the bandwidth that's not stuck in tactical things.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Like nowadays, like we want to be more performant, have everything like done faster because we have a bunch of things to do, and there's like an extra power that we could use here and
Yeah.
there, like to get better and into a faster pace. So that's a really good point. So, from your perspective and what you are currently doing at Momentum Studios, like how do you stay ahead of those industry trends? How do you incorporate that AI or those new processes? Do you have any like approach to making sure that those strategies remain while you innovate and keep you up to date?
hmm First, I think we try to immerse ourselves in it as far as a company of using things.
Hmm.
So whether that's, simple automations within programs we currently use, or how do we take it to the next level and uh, try out the things that, come on the market or understand how they interact. One thing that's difficult about that is you've seen a lot of segmentation
Hmm.
of AI solutions. I'm sure everyone who's been on LinkedIn has probably seen a post by someone where it's like the top 100 best AI tools, and there's 10 different categories. So I think one of the challenges that we talked about this year and kind of planning for 2025 is how do we really understand or evaluate AI to where we don't have to test out 100 different things
Yeah.
that's so modular. Um, so that's been part of the process of being practitioners ourselves. I think the other part is based upon the clients we work with. So with working in the startup space, also in the mid to large size business and enterprise, it allows us to see um, a lot of solutions or a lot of ways that AI is leveraged in different environments. And we get to be at this really cool point of intersection
Mhm.
to where we're getting exposed to things that we're not having to maybe invest our time or money in, but we're part of building a solution with it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the step two, just purely the exposure to clients we work with. And the last is, I don't know, natural curiosity. I see something pop up, or I get hit by an email about something, or I get served an ad. And I think it's just being intrigued to want to
Mhm.
continue to learn and how it can be applied to everyday life.
So you made a good point there, and it makes me think about it. Like, how do you evaluate those? Because you mentioned like, and every day we see those kind of posts where you see, okay, try these 10 tools or 100, or and that's not
Hmm.
just from one person, it's from everyone is doing the same. So how do
Yeah.
you kind of evaluate as quick as possible and fail fast, or how do you decide, okay, let's try this one, or let's, I don't know, try this other one, and evaluate if that's going to help you in the future or if it's just spam? How do you manage that?
I think the first step for us would be so like I agree with those posts, and everyone puts one, and they all have different ones
Yeah, in
because
some
there's so
cases
many.
they collide, but many times it's like 200 tools in just two posts. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So the approach we've taken is actually leveraging how most people create posts like that, where they
Mhm.
create a category. And so we look internally at our company and say, okay, is there a category
Mhm.
that we could leverage AI or solutions within? So that's like the first step for us, and then evaluating if that's a true problem or challenge within our company. And then we would do the same for our clients. That at least helps us put a bucket there, and then it's kind of it is a little bit of a fail fast thing.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of you know seeing seeing some of those posts, reading some things online. Everything's so promoted, but trying to come to some sort of theme of the top 3 to 5 and trying them.
Mhm.
I think that's one thing where people not only from the term AI feel fatigue, but because it almost interacts like Google Chrome would, where you can have thousands of open source plugins. How do you know which is the right one?
Yeah.
So part of it is just seeing what's there, and I think people feel that fatigue too of like, well, there's 30 solutions within time management, for
Mhm. Mhm.
example, or content writing for AI. How do I know what the best one is?
Yeah.
Um, so it's hard to stay on top of that truly. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes you have to go with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
most
And
commented
curiosity,
or
right?
reviewed.
And that curiosity that you were mentioning, that's probably the key factor there. So having everyone like be on top of, okay, if you see something new, try it out, or at least try to understand what's that for, and
Yeah,
maybe testing it for some minutes, days, whatever that is, so you can come with a solid solution, or a solid approach to discarding or to opting to incorporate that new process, for example, to the company.
right, right. And it's definitely a time investment. I mean, if
Mhm.
you want to fully leverage AI, uh, the other thing that maybe we'll look for is if something's the best at content management or content writing, but that's all it does. Is there a solution that's more
Mhm.
of a cross-functional or multi-point solution versus just singular? So then I'm sure you've experienced it. You get all this technical debt of 17 different programs to try and be efficient. And in your quest to be efficient, you're more inefficient than you've ever been. Um, so I think that's also part of
Mhm.
regulating that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you don't want to fall in those rabbit holes where then it's more expensive even to get out of them. So, yeah,
Correct. Correct.
totally. And so, is there like any specific tool or approach or something that you say, okay, this have changed my life, or this has been something I tried in the past few months and I stick to it and it's working really well for us?
From an AI perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, One would just be the project management tool
Hmm.
we use. So, as a company, we use ClickUp. It's comparable to like a Monday or other types of project management software. One thing that we've tried to do is leverage as much of the automation side of things
Hmm.
within process management or project management flow, but also helping um, with that customer experience. So we're trying to use one tool that helps us internally, but really can help us stay on top of the customer experience because as we know, right, the customer is everything,
Hmm.
and customer obsession is a great way to say it, and it's the truth. So AI really helps us stay in front of and proactive with customers that we have.
I love that. Yeah, I think we are on the same page there, and we've been talking about this before, like being customer centric and having the customer on top and trying to be as performant or as good as possible. That's like key for any business, and also like being entrepreneurship is part of the challenges that we have to face every day. So
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost become a game in our office of how can we like there's this motivation by everyone of like how
Mhm.
can we automate so many things to become so much more efficient
Mhm.
within the couple solutions that we have. And so it's kind of this fun thing of, well, hey, I found that we can do this and it'll save us time, and then we can focus on the meaningful work, right?
Mhm.
It's not the emails, it's not the making a schedule. Like those things are important to a project, but what's really impactful is that relationship and at the
Yep.
end of the day, your strategic delivery.
Can't agree more. Yep. So that gives me to the next thought, which is more on the entrepreneurship and all. Like we know, we both have been there, like creating our own company, starting from zero. And so, if you have to say, okay, this is something I learned from the moment I started, where there was no AI till today. What's that you would repeat or do differently if you had the chance to start from scratch again?
Gotcha. So my answer is a little unique in the fact that as I sit today,
Hmm.
I wouldn't change anything about how I got here. Part of it is everything lends itself to an experience or a lesson. And so, a common phrase or sentiment is fail forward, fail fast. You had mentioned it earlier. But without those failures, it would have been failure if I just stopped.
Hmm.
But trying to learn something from every time there was a quote unquote failure allowed me to get to where I'm at today. So I would say from changing anything, like truly I wouldn't, because it has allowed me to progress to this phase.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to talk about like things I wish I didn't have to go through,
Hmm.
right? It's the leveraging everything that you've got, believing in the vision, convincing, others to come on board, um, being married and having kids, convincing your spouse to uh, believe in the idea
Hmm.
and come along with you for that journey. So those are things maybe aren't ideal to go through
Hmm.
and can provide challenges. And maybe last on that topic would just be the fact that there's a lot of times where being an entrepreneur, especially early on, you're kind of on your own. You're in your own head, you're in your own business. Even with a spouse, they're not necessarily there day to day.
Hmm.
So, one of the things that I would say or recommend is truly trying to find that group of individuals who can not only relate through just entrepreneurship, but also relate through the lens of life stage.
Hmm.
Because how I relate to an entrepreneur who has, no significant other and no kids is a lot different than how I relate to an entrepreneur that is in the same life stage with, a
Yeah.
significant other and kids. So being able to build that group of individuals and put yourself out there, it's really important, and I think extremely needed. Um, just because you are alone at the top a lot and you're trying to make decisions, and I don't know if you've experienced it, but almost every entrepreneur I talk to has, it's imposter syndrome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're figuring out as you go,
Yep.
but you can get in your head so quickly.
Yeah, that I mean, you made so many good points there because while you were speaking, I was kind of feeling those same things because I experienced that firsthand, and it's
Hmm.
totally like that. Like you have on your head tons of things, but you have the challenge of how to communicate that and get everyone on board. Then you also have your partner or your business partners in case you decided like to jump with more people, and they have to be in kind of the same vibes. Otherwise, it's going to be like you are going there, and probably the other person might want to go in the other direction. So yeah, totally. That's a challenge that it's super useful now that I see it like from the other side and looking back. It's easy to see, but when you start, like you go through those moments and you don't even think about that. So
Mm-mm.
that's crazy.
Yeah, you don't. And I think as you go through those and then you start building a team, it's a common phrase, but I mean, I really try and implement it, and I even have my team members hold me accountable to it. Is firing yourself
Hmm.
from things within your own company, because it's something you might be able to do, and while it's a simplistic task, taking the time to train someone and pass that on allows way more opportunity, whether it's growth, earning potential, relationships, versus trying to do everything yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, delegation is key, and it's tough because at the beginning you think, okay, I've been doing this, so I can keep doing it, but there are more things that you can do, and maybe others can't, just because of the timing or the experience or whatever that is. So leveraging, empowering others, that's super vital, I would say, and healthy for
Yeah.
everyone, as you were saying. So totally agree. I think that could be like a good advice for business owners or for entrepreneurs or people that are thinking about to start a new company or do some projects. Do you have any other like that?
Any other advice around that? Aside from f- firing yourself, which I think is extremely important for
Mhm.
growth,
Yep.
um, I would say, I would probably say understanding that where you're at today is not where you're going to be.
Hmm.
And when you get to a certain point, telling yourself that what got you here won't get you there.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is it takes a certain evolution of yourself, it takes a certain evolution of team members, of clients to get you to a certain point. But if your goal is truly to grow, to change, to create impact, there's a lot of times where you have to pivot and say, all right, these aren't my best customers. Yeah, they're making me money, but I need to find a better customer,
Hmm.
or how we're operating is not efficient.
Mm.
And really evaluating and saying, is the formula that got me to this point today really what's going to propel me towards my goals? Because a lot of people will just continue on
Hmm.
at kind of this, I don't know, arduous pace, and don't reevaluate that. And at the end of the day, being in that rhythm, I often ask other entrepreneurs I know or mentor and say, why'd you do all this to create a job?
Hmm.
Because if you left a job and created your own job, like truly of that 8 to 5, you feel that confinement, you're not happy, you're disgruntled in it, like go work somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For
Sometimes the solution is releasing, and
Yeah,
not just from that perspective, but also from a client standpoint. Or yeah, I
yeah,
totally feel it.
yeah. So I mean, that would be one. And I think for any of your listeners that um, have that entrepreneurial spirit,
Hmm.
it it isn't for everyone. There's two things that I say are my best friend through entrepreneurship, aside from your family, your wife, your kids,
Yep.
but it's optimism and it's resiliency.
Hmm.
And so if those are attributes that maybe you struggle with, like definitely lean into and build that muscle if you're going to become an entrepreneur, but also evaluate and say, okay, could I be an entrepreneur? Could I still display those same characteristics and work within an organization, but still have that entrepreneurial spirit, but I don't have to take the risk to start my own business?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good advice. Yeah, thank you for that, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, I know we are coming to the end of this episode, but there's one more question that I love asking, and I will ask here too. So do you have any personal routines, habits, or any like uh, activity that you try to leverage every day to keep like this work life balance healthy?
Uh, there's some I wish so transparency. I wish I could say I'm better at those things.
Mm,
It's hard in the entrepreneurial space sometimes as you're growing
mhm,
to really establish those boundaries. One thing that I've tried to do and release kind of mental bandwidth from is, the phrase work life balance. I had it explained to me one time is when you say it that way, you have work and life,
mhm,
and it's on a teeter totter. So it implies when you take from one, you add to the other. And their whole conversation was around, think of it as more work life integration or work life harmony.
mhm,
So instead of having this mental construct of you're taking time from one thing, so you think, oh, I'm taking time from my family
yeah,
to work, or I'm taking time to be with my family and I'm not working, allowing things to be a little more fluid
mhm,
and knowing that, hey, I can work when it makes sense, and there's times where I can interweave my family there, and then I can go back to work, and then I can weave in my family. And I think that's really helped
mm,
free me, as it's something that it's not per se a habit, it's more of a mindset
yeah.
that I've really tried to think about daily.
It's like
uh,
the structuring that two boxes, like having one single box where you just manage yourself to move from one to the other constantly.
Correct. Correct. And why I like it is, and you can probably relate, as entrepreneurs, that's what entrepreneurship
Yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
this
Right.
fluidity
Yeah.
and agility to
Yeah.
just change direction at the drop of a
Hmm.
hat.
Hmm. Yep.
So I would say that's just a habit of something I think about every day. And even in doing that, it allows me to have a reduction in
Mm.
stress about, okay, I had a meeting scheduled, but now I got to take care of, a family thing.
Yep.
Well, all right, I'm just going to flip it, but I know that I can weave that back in versus feeling that stress and that pressure about taking one from the other or vice versa.
That's smart. Great. You can do that. I mean, it's a great advice, and I try to be as flexible in that way too. But the way you say it, it sounds even more interesting to me. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a symphony. That's
Yeah.
how I think of it
Yeah.
in my head.
It's like music to ears.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And when a symphony is in sync, it sounds beautiful.
Hmm.
But if only half the symphony was playing and then the other half was playing, it
Yeah.
wouldn't sound as great. So how do you allow your life to be a symphony of things that happen so it sounds great versus only allowing part of it to be heard at one time?
That's a great point of view there. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. And Jeff, yeah, so we are there. We arrived to the end of it. So I appreciate for your time, for your transparency, for this great conversation. Is there anything you want to announce or share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Um, sure. I mean, so a big thing for us is, we're located in Iowa in the U.S. We are a design and innovation studio and work with people across the country and globe. But kind of an exciting thing for us coming up in May, we'll be going to Africa, back to Guinea, and we were there last year as part of a federal program, the Mandela Washington program, to further deploy a couple things. One, to be education to entrepreneurs. One, to help build their ecosystem. We do this year it'll be a 2-day conference. Last year it was 3, and we connect with businesses. We'll have a pitch day, but we're going to launch a crowdfunding platform for the country of Guinea and allowing people to actually see where these businesses are at. That's a lot different than maybe what we're used to in the US. And then we're also going to officially launch a Momentum Studios office in Africa with our local partner that works there. So kind of a cool thing, something that if you asked
Yep.
me 18 months ago, like, hey, when you grow, where are you going to go? It would not have been this path, but that willingness to be fluid, as we talked about,
Mhm.
has led us here, and
That's
it
cool.
brings a lot of joy. So that's maybe something fun that's on the
Yep.
docket.
Super
Um,
cool. Super
that's outside of our
exciting.
normal scope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exciting times for you. So, wishing you for sure the best of luck. I hope you can deploy it successfully, and yeah, have an amazing time there. We'll be talking probably before you get there, but uh, thanks for sharing it. I'm sure
yeah,
someone will love to know more about it.
yeah, absolutely. And if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. So we're learning as we go.
Love that. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. And yeah, thanks for your time again.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to other episodes that you put out there, and just continuing our friendship and partnership as well.
Yep. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.